Chapter 9. The Blood Gate. Where memory stains stone, the past demands payment in blood. The descent into the lower halls was marked not by steps but by silence. Amuro and Kaelen emerged from the winding corridor into a vast antechamber. The walls here were not carved, but grown, flesh-like stone, veined with pulsing crimson, as if the very dungeon bled in anticipation. A distant, steady heartbeat echoed from somewhere deep below. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. The floor beneath their feet was warm. Kaelen finally broke the silence. "This is it. The last threshold before the gate." Amuro nodded slowly. His rune, etched across his hand like a living scar, pulsed softly. Ever since their fight with the echo parasite, something inside him had changed. He felt heavier, but not with fatigue. Something older had taken root. "What is this place, really?" he asked. Kaelen knelt by the blood-soaked floor and touched it with 2 fingers, bringing them to his mask. He sniffed the blood, then murmured, "Once, this was a temple. Before it became a prison. For what? Not what. Who?" As if on cue, a gust of hot, iron-scented wind blew through the chamber. Torches lining the far side of the room flared to life, illuminating a monstrous archway, twisted and scorched, flanked by 2 obsidian statues with hollow eyes and mouths sewn shut. The stone beneath the arch glistened, like it had been soaked in fresh blood. A voice, deep and layered with static, echoed across the chamber. "Who bleeds for entry?" Kaelen stiffened. "The gate speaks." Amuro stepped forward, instinct guiding his hand to the hilt of the revenant blade. Drop of blood ritual and battle memories. Suddenly, spectral shapes began to swirl in the air, shades of warriors, their bodies translucent and flickering. They screamed silently, reliving battles that never ended. Amuro felt their pain wash over him, each ghost brushing against his mind like an icy claw. Kaelen whispered, "You'll need to give it a memory. One strong enough to be bled from you." Amuro hesitated, then plunged his fingers into his chest, into the rune. Blood poured freely. A memory surfaced, the day he first awakened in the Revenant Vault, surrounded by corpses and silence. The gate responded. With a groaning shriek, the stone opened, revealing a corridor of black bone and mirrored walls. As they entered, the door slammed shut behind them. Brained the Hall of Reflection. Inside, the walls flickered with images from Amuro's past, but twisted. Kaelen was gone. He was alone now. One wall showed Amuro standing above Kaelen's lifeless body. Another showed him impaled on his own sword. Yet another displayed him seated on a throne, blind and laughing as the world burned. Each vision whispered, "This is you. This is what you become." A figure stepped from one of the mirrors. It was Amuro, but older. His face was cracked, his eyes void. "You shouldn't have come here," the echo said. "You're too soft. You still hope." They fought. Steel clashed. The revenant blade met its reflection, the blows sparking against mirrored ground. Each strike was like cutting through a lie, but each cut also made Amuro forget something. His name, his purpose, Kaelen's voice. When he finally defeated the Shade, he collapsed to his knees, gasping, mind fraying. But the path opened. Fire the Blood Gate Arena. Beyond the reflection hall was the final chamber, a cathedral-sized arena with a blood-red sky stretching above. Floating chains held chunks of stone midair. The center platform held a throne made of bone. Sitting upon it was a hulking figure, the Cursed Brother. His armor was fused to his flesh. A broken version of Amuro's rune was carved into his chest, scorched black. Kaelen reappeared beside him. "That was my brother once," he said quietly. "He chose the dungeon. It consumed him." The Cursed Brother stood, dragging a massive blade that seemed to scream with each movement. Only one of U.S. leaves. Chapter 9. The Blood Gate, extended, full sequence. Some doors don't open. They demand a sacrifice. The descent continued. The deeper they moved, the more the dungeon changed. It no longer resembled carved stone or architecture. Now it pulsed like something alive. The ground beneath them squelched in places, the walls seemed to shift when not directly observed, and the air carried a low, humming tension, like the breath before a scream. Amuro wiped sweat from his brow. Not from heat. From something deeper, psychic pressure. Kaelen moved more carefully now, his dual sword sheathed, a single hand resting on the hilt of the curved dagger at his side. "There's something watching us," Amuro said quietly. Kaelen didn't deny it. "This place remembers. Every drop of blood spilled here becomes part of its skin." They crossed a stone bridge suspended over an endless chasm. Below, shifting echoes moved like shadows in mist, distorted images of warriors, beasts, and something worse. Shapes with too many limbs, with screaming mouths stitched into their torsos. On the far side, the hallway narrowed until it broke into a perfect circle of black stone, carved with glowing runes like veins of molten silver. In its center floated a single hovering orb, shaped like a human heart, beating slowly. Amuro stepped forward. The rune on his hand flared. The voice returned, thick, deep, ancient. "The blood gate accepts only that which was lost." Kaelen turned to Amuro. "You'll have to give it something no one else can." "Like what?" Kaelen didn't answer. He simply pointed to the orb. And then it pulled. The memory trial. Amuro's vision blurred. He stood not in the dungeon, but in a quiet village, long burned from his memory. His father's voice. The smell of rain on wooden roofs. He saw himself, young, clutching a wooden sword. A woman laughed. His mother? The feeling hurt to even recognize. But then it shifted. The village burned. His screams were silent. A man stood in the flames, faceless, pointing toward the horizon. "You will forget us, Amuro. That's the price of power." Amuro fell to his knees. When he awoke, he was on the floor, bleeding from the nose. The orb was gone. In its place, the archway to the blood gate stood wide open. The arena awakens. The blood gate opened to a vast coliseum under a sky of swirling blood-colored clouds. Floating stones drifted in impossible geometry. Chains suspended them mid-air, bound to runes glowing in ancient tongue. At the far end, a throne of bone, roots, and black iron pulsed with dark heat. And upon it sat the cursed brother. He was not what Amuro expected. Twisted armor fused to raw, ruined flesh. His arms were too long, his eyes hollow. His chest bore a rune nearly identical to Amuro's, but corrupted. Charred. Inverted. Kaelen drew both blades. He didn't die when he should have. He let the dungeon remake him. And now he waits for me. The cursed brother rose. The throne cracked behind him. His voice boomed, layered with thousands of overlapping echoes. "You carry the scent of blood and memory. The dungeon wants you whole." "I won't be yours," Amuro spat, stepping forward. The revenant blade in his grip howled. Crossed swords, boss battle, the cursed brother. He charged like a storm, swinging a great blade of obsidian wrapped in bone. It howled with every movement, screaming in the voice of those it had slain. Amuro dodged left, Shadow Rip stepped across the air, and struck, only for his sword to bounce from a shield of shrieking souls. Kaelen flanked, slashing through the soul shield with blades glowing red. "We have to cut his rune," he yelled. "Where?" Amuro was slammed through a column, stone cracking around him. He stood, blood dripping from his lip. His rune pulsed, feeding him heat. He let it guide him. A vision flickered, where the corrupted rune twisted across the cursed brother's heart. That was the weak point. Amuro ran up the side of a floating stone, launched into the air, and plunged the revenant blade down, into the heart. The rune screamed. So did the brother. He grabbed Amuro with both hands, eyes flaring. "If I fall, the dungeon rises." Amuro whispered, "Then bleed for it." He twisted the blade. The explosion of memory and heat knocked him across the chamber. Sparkle's aftermath. Silence. Ash drifted like snow. The body of the brother was gone. Only his mask remained, cracked in two. Amuro picked it up, feeling the weight of something more than bone. Kaelen sat nearby, wounded, breathing hard. "You did it," he said quietly. Amuro shook his head. "No. The dungeon let me win." Kaelen looked up sharply. "What?" This wasn't the end. It was a test. And then the floor shifted. The blood-soaked stone began to retreat, revealing a spiral stair descending even deeper into shadow. Kaelen stood slowly. Then we rest. Craft. Eat. Because what's below the blood gate isn't for mortals. Chapter 9, Part 2. The Hollow Depths. The stairway beneath the blood gate was ancient, older than the dungeon itself. There were no torches, no runes, not even the familiar glow of corrupted stone. Only steps, and a silence so complete it rang in the ears like pressure underwater. Amuro and Kaelen descended without speaking. After what felt like hours, the stairs ended in a narrow corridor. The walls here were smooth obsidian, warm to the touch, and etched with scars, not runes, but scratches, as though something massive had been clawing its way out. They stepped forward carefully. Their footsteps didn't echo. The space around them swallowed sound. The door of breathless names. Ahead loomed a strange construct, a doorway made of flesh and metal, pulsing gently like a sleeping lung. Veins of silver and black ran through it, and its surface was covered in overlapping mouths, stitched shut with glowing thread. In the center of the door was a single line of text, written in ancient tongue. Kaelen frowned. It says, "To enter, speak the name you swore to forget." Amuro's breath caught. He remembered the trial of memory. He thought he'd already paid that price. But the dungeon wasn't done. He stepped forward, placed his hand on the fleshy metal, and whispered. A name. His brother's. The one left behind. The door exhaled. Stitches unraveled. It opened with a sound like weeping metal. The hollow vault. Beyond was a vast circular chamber, a hollow vault, lined with empty plinths and broken cocoons of stone. It looked like a forgotten nursery, for something massive. Above, suspended in the void, hung a black heart, massive, the size of a house, wrapped in chains of glowing bone. It pulsed slowly. With every beat, the air shimmered with distortion, fragments of reality cracking like old glass. Kaelen knelt. This is a dungeon core. But it's incomplete. Amuro stared. The core was trying to form something, and failing. Screaming faces flickered across its surface. A sound echoed behind them. Metal footsteps. They turned. A figure stood in the archway. Tall. Armored. Featureless mask, etched with both their runes fused together. Not a construct. Not a man. A herald. The first voice of the dungeon. Drop of blood, the herald of fusion. Encounter. It did not speak words. Instead, it broadcast a thought, raw, direct. You have walked the blood stair, slain a cursed twin, and unlocked memory that was bound. You are ready to choose. Amuro narrowed his eyes. Choose what? To become the blade. Or to break the loop. Kaelen raised his blades. Don't listen. These things lie. It's part of the game. But Amuro stepped forward, eyes locked with the herald. His rune burned. The revenant blade screamed in its sheath. Choose. What loop? Amuro asked. Silence. Then, images poured into his mind. Dozens of versions of himself. Different paths, choices, deaths. Kaelen dying. Kaelen killing him. The dungeon resetting each time. Amuro reeled, sweat dripping from his face. Kaelen touched his shoulder. We have to destroy that core. If we don't, this place will consume everything. Amuro nodded, barely. The herald stepped aside. And behind it, the chains began to uncoil. The heart was waking up.